Hello everyone, right now we will dive into self-built CI/CD for Hashicorp stack, where we redefine the boundaries of development efficiency. We will explore how customizing CI/CD pipeline not only enhance control, but also seamlessly integrate with other great tools, and streamlining our workflow like never before. Hello everyone, my name is Yahya. I'm head of engineering at eFishery. We are a startup running on aquaculture in Indonesia. We are currently expanding to India and exporting the fish and shrimp to America. Everyone already know about CI/CD, the standoff continuous integration, delivery and deployment. But what it is exactly? Now, let's talk about CI/CD. It's a method for frequently delivering apps to customer by introducing automation into the stage of app development. There is commonly three stages. Integration, where the importance for early detection of issue and conflict. And the delivery is to import how important it is to reduce lead time of bug fix, like implemented automation for testing. And lastly, the deployment, the importance to reduce risk associated with release process. For example, like automated deployment to the server and domain. And that's all the meaning of CI/CD. Streamlining the development, ensure code quality, accelerate release cycle, facilitate scalability, and minimize error. Also enhancing overall productivity and reliability. Now, here is the common CI/CD tools, and it is pretty a lot. And how to use it, it's just pretty simple. Which part of stage you actually need and pick one. For example, for the simple common usage is usually using the GitHub and only Ansible. GitHub to manage the source code and pipeline, and also for Ansible for access to the server and manage the DNS record. But it will grow following the needs of complexity software, and sometimes you need to add another tools to manage the requirement. So for over 10 years, I'm working on with DevOps and delivery software. And for the most common practice, we just want to know when and how to deliver the change. And I think this is the simple process of CI/CD. What I need to do is just simply put the tools icon into the box for runner and for GitHub and for source code. And everyone know the CI/CD tools is pretty complex with the different needs and different feature. The change will follow by the DevOps principle. Now, because of the needs or software requirement that keep growing, the better way to manage this, commonly people just find another tools, right? And if I put this into the CI/CD process, it will become much more complex, right? So it feels like the count of tools equal the count of CI/CD complexity. The complexity is grow by the number of tools that we need to maintain. And somehow, I guess I'm thinking something on the count of number of tools equal with the count of number of complexity equal with the number of tools you need to upgrade, or because just something bug or vulnerability and you need to maintain the count of tools to maintain. And the count of number, it might be chaotic to manage. And I think I found a better way to maintain the CI/CD needs. Okay, I will tell you a little bit story about our fundamental, and it is called Agnostic tech stack approach. The agnostic tech term or fundamental to understand the tech by the ground meaning of it, instead on resolve problem by using other tools. So many people comes with a problem within the software or the DevOps, they trying to find a very first tools they can use, while the people who made the tools have a different mindset. They resolve the problem by making tools, so it's different with the maker and the user, right? So from my experience, the importance of agnostic tech stack is come from our learning on the trap of vendor lock. This is pretty scary because some of vendor lock, we are pretty locked by the monopolistic constraints. The much more money you have, the better feature, right? The less money you have, fewer capability you can do. So when everything become complex, the agility will be diminished. The main concern with agnostic tech stack is cost failure. And actually, we are using agnostic tech stack is introduced by the Tao of Hashicorp. So what is the Tao of Hashicorp? There is many Tao of Hashicorp, but our main principle, we only use three part of the Tao of Hashicorp. The first one, we are using the workflow, not technology. And the second one, simple, modular, composable, and the last one, pragmatism. The reason of this principle help us to understand about the agnostic tech stack. It's pretty meaningful, and this is the beginning we introduce the Hashicorp stack. Now, I want to introduce you. This is practically our main tech stack by using the Hashicorp stack, but there is many steep learning curve. It's pretty hard. It is just simply different for our experienced engineer, because Kubernetes is pretty wide and global about the container orchestrator, and we believe in Indonesia there is not many startup that actually eager to use the full Hashicorp stack. And you could see this is our architecture. We use Terraform as our infrastructure as code, Nomad for container orchestrator, and Consul as internal network communication, and Vault as our secret manager. The fun way, when we explore this stack, we only have 2 months to implement all of this, and with the single infrastructure engineer who did it. But we did it anyway, alright? Because of the steep learning curve, we're trying to find pragmatic way in order to manage the Hashicorp stack. That is why we actually not using the Hashicorp stack properly. And eventually, the architecture that running our production and pre-production that we use since 2020 is still running until now. So because of this incomplete and alienated stack for engineer, this means we have a little time to train engineer. That is why we focus on development experience, right? Because we only have a single infrastructure engineer to maintain this, the better way is to do is by making all engineers have the capability to control the process of CICD. So we create a new tools that we call TB. TB, that stand of continuous integration and build instrument. It is simply CICD, but we just simply hate so much with the term of CD because it's kind of confusing with the delivery and deployment. So we just change it into build instrument. So we create this GB with Golang, while all engineer in eFishery is running with Golang, and it is actually working. And many engineers made a change to GB in order to make the custom CICD. Now, the best thing is we didn't need to think any tools. We didn't need to manage many tools. Everything in this base code, and everyone can change it. That's how powerful of GB. Now let's talk about this GB. It stands of continuous integration and build instrument. All right. Now here is the main process of GB. As you can see, engineers just need to put in line by running this file within the pipeline. All right, GB is built using Golang. It's only single file executable. Okay, now I think I will tell you about all of this process. Okay, as the software engineer, they need to make sure all the change will be ready to deploy. So when they think it is ready, they need to make sure the application and CICD configuration is ready for deployment, and engineer need to change it within Vault. When they finish to set up the configuration, they did the deployment with GB. Now here is how GB working. It starts from here. Okay, firstly, GB will build the image following the Docker file configuration, and after that GB will check the CICD configuration that involved with metadata. Who is responsible with the software, right? While building image, GB will get the secret from the Vault and put it as a file into configuration. All right, GB will read the software relationship, and by reading the app file configuration, and all information will be stored into Notion. After all complete, GB will generate job template for Nomad and deploy it into Nomad. After Nomad status is complete, it will update into traffic, forecast of internal service. Everything will be done from here. But if the service is available for the public, it will start to update a record for into Cloudflare. After everything done, deployment status will be sent back into pipeline in here. Okay, that all. The GB will process everything into single process. Okay, so how this GB working and what she actually need? You see, GB only need a little setup. You need Docker file, you need to define your environment, you need to set up your configuration, set up your secret at the Vault, also the metadata, and then you can just enjoy your pipeline. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a little bit step from the back for the CICD, how this is working and how it look like. Okay, now when the GB is running, this is how it look like. It will check all readiness of the CICD application configuration that's stored within the Vault. You see, this is the part we said the different using Vault, and this is not practical because with the Vault standard, this is not considered properly. This is considered not properly. Now, our focus is to store the deployment configuration and restrict the use of secret text with the plain text. You see, all engineers need to configure the secret variable and deployment configuration within this Vault. And you see the first key of the CICD as the deployment configuration, like domain, service, data center location, and container image, resource configuration, and so on. Okay, and the second one that is a little bit hiding, we have the env key in here, right? Or application configuration file. More commonly, people will just .env file, right? Where the developer store the needs of the application. You could see some of the value key as must, you see from here, in order to hide the real value. And only application can understand the original value. And last, we have this metadata key in the very bottom. It explains function of the application, and this part will be responsible to hold information who is the owner of the application, and this will be updated into our service catalog. You see, we didn't use Vault because this is the only secret management platform, because it has a better experience and support our universal needs of secret. The best thing is we have less training about this, and everyone can use this without deep understanding about the tools. And this is the next part where the Vault secret will be generated into file config and pack it up into object storage. And in this case, we are using S3 to back up all configuration. You see, this is how in the pipeline, how it looked like in the pipeline. Now we have the standard enforcement. The best thing with GB, we can standardize the SDLC process with GB, so everyone will know why the pipeline is failed. And all of this important with the next pass in the GB, store all information into Notion as software catalog. Now, how standardization enforcement working is pretty simple. If the deployment need to meet the standardization, it will immediately fail or for the deployment. For example, if the engineer put the person in charge for software, didn't put the person in charge for the software, it will be failed. Or if engineer deploy while the deployment freeze, also it will fail. Or the engineering manager didn't approve this, it will also be failed. And here is what it looked like for the software catalog. We integrate our software catalog information into Notion database. Every information that inserted here is automated, and all product people will be easy to explore how many software that we have and which software is having relationship with other software or services, right? You see, the page will be available with the pipeline when the standardization is passed and stored into software catalog. The Notion link will be generated as a single file entity for the following pipeline, and GB won't regenerate the page. GB will using the existing page. With that link, this is how it look like. This is how it look like with the page, the link generated within the pipeline. It will store information, the software integrated with other service by read the application configuration, like person in charge, domain, repository, and also team. This is important because product people will easy explore the software list. And after everything done, it will be using job template CICD to deploy to our Nomad, and Nomad status will be waiting to read, and every status will be available within the pipeline. And this part is our SEL template that will be run by the GB. This is so far the dynamic template we have, and we're still using this until now. And this is only working for common application deployment. And lastly, with process GB, we gather all deployment status into Google Sheet. Yeah, right. We're using Google Sheet for our database, CICD, because that is only 2 months, and we have not many time to change this, and we put all metric into Google Sheet, and it's true. It's pretty chaotic. You shouldn't do this. All right. Okay, so now let's talk about the current status with GB and the Hashicorp stack. Currently, this is our running spec on production. We deploy around hundreds a day, more than 500 job Nomad, and traffic is more than 2 GB per second. It's still running since 2020 with around 3 years, and GB we didn't need to frequently update, usually every major update every quarterly. Now let's deep dive into some important aspect from our learning. You see, there is a driver, and we have some learning within our Hashicorp stack and using the CICD system because we create ourselves for the CICD. So the driver benefit is over traditional CICD system. We are pretty useful using this custom CICD, and it's easy for adoption effort standardization. The best thing is we integrate this with other tools that also free, and it's pretty good for we have the software catalog with this. And for our learning, the major update is so hard to adapt. It's pretty hard because we need to change all pipeline to following our update. It feels like if you use another tools, it will have another major bug, and we need to implement to another pipeline. We need to use the proper use of Vault for much better secure usage. Okay. And lastly, please just don't use Google Sheet to store the metric. It is pretty chaotic. So, lastly, for the 2024 or this year, we grow GB into important part of development, and we integrate this with Kubernetes. Also, we built internal developer tool for our internal tools, and this GB is grow much bigger for 2024. And for anyone who want to see the slightly taste of the GB, you can come here. So everything, that's it from me. Hatur nuhun. Thank you.